Isaiah 24 is it's like a coin, which has got two sides. Now, when you look at Isaiah 24 and Matthew 24, there are a lot of similarities. And I think we did this in 2002. This is when we really began to see those days. But today, you can see the thing unfolding. See, where people are talking about climate change, people are confused, people are aggressive. Yeshua says lawlessness will abound, men's hearts will grow cold, and that has been happening for ages. But when it came to climate change and a few other things, and the kind of diseases and sicknesses that we are going through, especially the one that was recent, we can see that Isaiah has been talking about certain issues, certain problems which will come upon the world. And these are what we call as, we all know it's the end times. Even the unbeliever, even the pagan, and they all are aware there's something wrong, which is not right. Even those who are rich are finding it very difficult to understand. And those who are poor, whether they are in the government or whether they are, normal people, things are happening very fast. But when it comes to climate change, I truly believe, though man is polluted the earth, but God is the one who's brought the changes. Because in chapter 24, as we see in 1, behold, it says, behold, the Lord, Yahweh, makes the earth empty, draining the resources, making the earth, depletion is taking place, and makes it waste, making it kind of, we can see becoming useless, actually, unproductive. A lot of things are going to happen. The kind of chemicals and fertilizers and all that we are using, God is going to do it from his side. The man is doing it from his side. God is going to do what he has to do. So, and makes it waste, barren. He says, distorts its surface. Now, people are talking about North Pole ice melting, erosion, and, Bangladesh may be closed, so many things. You can't go into those details. But if you keep on watching, like Jesus said, watch and pray. Watch what is happening and pray that you may escape all these things that are coming upon the earth. And he says, distorts its surface. Distorting means disfiguring it, putting it out of shape. That's what he's saying. And scatters abroad its inhabitants. And this has been probably happening for ages, but it's picked up momentum. If you look what is happening in Europe, what is happening in America, what is happening even in India, you find, people are moving around in masses, and they're called migrants. You see, this was there. Earlier, to go to America was very difficult. It was not easy. To go to Europe, it was not easy. But today, it is simple. You just go there, you come by boat, you come by whatever, you just cross a certain river, and then that's what it is. You find the inhabitants of the earth are scattered. Now, I was born in Kerala, but I'm settled in Goa. Many of you people out there are in Dubai. Okay, you all may come back or maybe go somewhere else. But that's what is happening. Migrants, you find it in Europe, which is now causing a lot of issues. And America is trying to, do the opposite. Trump is trying to, send the migrants back. But, I don't believe he'll be able to do anything much. Because if God has spoken his word here, we can be absolutely certain it will continue. You cannot stop it. If you go to Kerala, you go to Tamil Nadu, you come to Goa, you find migrants from the north. They're all moving. Everybody's moving. And that's what, God has spoken. The Lord makes the earth empty. He's draining the earth out, making it waste, barren, useless, distorts its surface, puts it out of shape. People are, even though they're doing whatever man is doing, he's allowing them to do it. You do it. But God will finally judge the entire world, the earth. Not the earth, but the world. And scatters abroad its inhabitants. And then it says something very unusual in verse 2. And it shall be. He's not talking to Israel, by the way. This is to do with the earth. You see? He's saying it shall be. That means sometime in the future. And Isaiah's, I think almost 2,700 years plus or whatever. He's talked, the prophecy is given to him. It shall be as with the people, so with the priest. I'll be touching on a few scriptures which you'll have to move fast with. Someone can read 1 Kings 13:33. It was there, but it was only within Israel. But now it's not only in the Old Testament, but it's also in the New Testament. It says, as with the people, so with the priest. See, there Jeroboam made he made the common people priests also. Today we have a similar problem. You can be a person who's read the Bible, maybe here and there and everywhere, and still argue with a person who's actually called by God to speak the word of God. And they won't give in because they think they know, because educated, maybe, intelligent, maybe, and that's all over the world. It's not, it's everywhere, all over the world. You find arguments, you find discussions, you find many things happening. You find many things happening when it comes to yeah. You see, that is basically what is happening today. Everyone is talking. Everybody's talking from the Bible. Everybody thinks they know better than you. You say something, I'll say, oh, no, I don't agree with that. You see? So the people today have become like the priest. It's like saying, if you're the shepherd and I'm the sheep, I will become a shepherd and as equal to you. So today the sheep has become like shepherds. And so if the sheep have become like shepherds, then who are the sheep? That's what it says. There's an equality now between priest and the people, or the believers, or whoever. And then it goes on further down. It says, it goes into the secular world. As with the servant, so with the master. If I'm working for one of you guys' companies or whatever, if you'll have a company, and tomorrow I don't like you, you tell me something, I'll say, that's not my job. Earlier, I remember about maybe 50 years ago, where people worked in a company. They started with a company when they were maybe 20 or 25, not much of education. They finished when they were 60. They were given one pen and one chain or one ring. You see, that is the kind of dedication they had. But today you don't find that. You find everybody moving, hopping from one company to another company. Another company says, look, I'll give you 2,000 rupees more. You leave this and go because 24,000 rupees a year. That's the kind of money you're making. And then somebody else says, look, I'll give you another, I'll give you 2,000 more. You keep moving. So people are earning in thousands, people are earning in lakhs, and people are earning in millions. So it doesn't matter whether it's a small company or a big company. Servant and the master are equal. That's it. He can turn around and abuse the master if he wants to. He can tell him, I don't want your job. I don't care, all that. Those days there was respect, but today you don't find that respect. Same with women, maid, so with the mistress. The maid says, look, I'm equal to you, so I don't want your job. This is the kind of mentality we have today in this world. And Isaiah is saying this. He's talking about this. It shall be. This is what God is speaking. What he's doing on top, God said, I will. Behold, the Lord makes them. From 2 down, it is nothing to do with the Lord. It's to do with people. He says, as with the maid, so with the mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. See, those days, the seller was sincere. They were okay. If they said something, you can say, look, I can give you so much, I don't have, no problem. But today, the seller is cheating you and you're cheating the seller. You see, both are on equal terms. As with the buyer, so with the seller. You go and see anywhere in the world today, about the buyer and seller, you'll find that, the seller is trying to cheat the buyer and the buyer is trying to cheat the seller. And he says, no, I know. If you want to give me this for this price, I'll take. If not, I'm going to another place. But that fellow, he doesn't give it to him. He said, I'll go to another place. You see, there's competition, so-called competition. Where there is competition, there is no unity because there is division. So this is what is happening. See? Now you get, as with the lender, so with the borrower. Earlier, banks respected people. I've seen, normal staff members shouting at, go and sit down there, I'll call you when I have to call. Earlier, they'll call you, give you a tea, they'll do this, they'll be gentle, whatever. Now it's different. But at the same time, they want you to invest in their bank or invest in a whatever company or whatever. So the lender and the borrower, there is equal power. That's what I'm trying to say. There's equal power with all this. As with the creditors or with the debtor, same thing. The creditor will entice you and make you take the credit, and then the debtor will go for it. He'll say, no. If you can give me another 3% more, or give me 0.2% more, then I'll take it from your bank, or I'll take it from whatever your society, whatever the thing is. So you see, the creditor and the debtor, they're both in equal power. The lender and the borrower, there is a competition going on between both, but both have power. The buyer and the seller also has power. Maid and mistress has power. Servant and master has power. People and priests have power. This is what it is. You look around, you find this it's very common. It's very common. Everything is coming down. It's getting down, it's getting degraded. And then it says, and then he comes to, the land shall be entirely emptied and utterly plundered. What he's trying to say is, the land, he's talking about the whole earth, I believe. The land shall be entirely, that means wholly, completely, emptied and utterly, totally plundered, looted, stripped, treated with contempt for the Lord. Then he comes, see, this is the beauty of it. Because God has spoken to Isaiah. Earlier he says, I'm going to do this. Climate change is from me. All these things are from you. Because we have a free will, whether it's an individual or a society. He says, the Lord, Yahweh, has spoken this word. That means that if he's spoken, it's spoken. And that's exactly what is happening today before our faces, before our eyes. And he goes further down and he says, the earth moans and fades away. I mean, the earth moaning? Was the earth moaning earlier? Let's take 50 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago. Was the earth moaning? There was nothing like that. I mean, things were developing. I believe it all started with, with radio waves, where radio began, when radio started. That is the beginning of all sorrows. We think, that those days were better, but that's where it all began. And now we are gone. We have advanced right through. He says the earth moans and fades away. That's, I believe, today. That means mourning means grieving. The earth is sorrowful. The earth is lamenting. Imagine the earth lamenting. Not talking about man, he's talking about the earth. And fades away. It's degenerating. It's wailing. The world languishes, he says, and fades away. The world languishing means the world is becoming weak. Languish, a person languish is not joyful. It's sorrowful. And he says becoming feeble. It's fading away. It's diminishing. It's withering. It's dying. The world is dying. Actually, today, that's what is happening. Even all these governments and all these people, whether they're presidents or prime ministers, they can come out from Harvard and Oxford and Yale and all these universities, but they can do nothing because they themselves are corrupt. They themselves have no character. Absolutely no character. It's all greed. It's all covetousness. It's all self-centeredness. It's all pride. It's haughtiness. It goes on to say in the next verse, it says the haughty people, the next line, the haughty people. It's talking about the proud, arrogant, or superior towards others. Those are haughty people of the earth, languish. Now, when we speak through all this, you got to keep your spiritual eyes open to understand what Isaiah is speaking and what we are actually into. Keep that in mind, because we're just going through this and for our benefit, so that we can pray and hope that we will escape all that is going to come. It goes right up to the end. The earth is also defiled, he says. The haughty people are languishing, not only the poor. It's the haughty, even the proud. They don't know what's happening. They're kind of, totally, become feeble. They're languishing. They become, what do you call, sorrowful, grieving. They don't know what to do. They're not aware. Though they put on a front, but they can't do anything, because this is how they live their lives. The earth, he says, is also defiled under its inhabitants. What he's trying to say is the earth, and this is exactly what we are in, polluted. The earth is made dirty. Look at the plastics. Look at the pesticides. This rain that is going on here for about so many hours. I can imagine what is, people have been, sowing rice and whatever they're sowing, not only here, but all over the world. And God brings in these kind of rains. This is very unusual. This is not supposed to be a monsoon. It started in last month in May, and it is going on. And, the water keeps flowing all over the earth. It's covering the whole earth. So whatever pesticides they put, whatever chemicals they put, to get more produce and all that, it's all being mixed up. They're all being mixed up and spread all over. It will probably take some years. It's been taking some years, but I think we have come very close to, finding that, what God is saying. He's going to make the earth empty and make it waste. He's going to drain it out, make it bare and useless in verse 1, unproductive. So this is what he's saying. The earth is also defiled, polluted, corrupted, under its inhabitants. And it says the reason is because they have transgressed the laws. What laws have they transgressed? Changed the ordinance. What ordinance? Whose ordinance? Whose laws? God's laws, God's ordinances. They've changed everything. Some people think, changing Sunday to Saturday, Saturday to Sunday. Yeah, that's also, maybe they have it in that way. But that's not what we should be, be so concerned about. Because you're talking about something like 8 billion people who are going to be affected by a lot of problems, a lot of issues. So that's why he says, because they have transgressed the laws. I mean, you take marriage laws, you take childbearing laws, to gain children's affections these days for a brief time. They fail to enforce discipline. You look at the children today, they're out of control. And when they fail to enforce discipline, they always end up, it always ends up costing the parents in the long run disrespect, rebellion, and lawlessness. That's what is happening. To gain children's affection, because they have one child, they have two child, one child, oh, my only son, my only daughter, I give her the best. The best is the worst. They give them the worst. And they're scared of them, because the children today dictate terms to the parents. You see, all this is contained not only in this, there is many others I can touch on. I think if you can go down to, because God is going to do something very unusual. I think in Isaiah chapter 3. Chapter 3. This is what it takes a little time. You see, this is just for our understanding today. Look at verse 4. I will give children to be their princesses. I will give children to be rulers, princesses, and babes, shall rule over them. I mean, babes are impulsive. They're without rational. They're unpredictable. I mean, babes, when he says, I'm sure what he's talking about teenagers. Today you find, the youngest MP is 24 years old. The youngest this person is 22 years old. When did this ever happen? It's only happening in this present age. And it says the peoples will be oppressed, each one by another, and everyone by his neighbor, which is happening. The child will be insolent, is what I'm saying. To gain children's affection, this is what we do. We fail to enforce discipline. Like Proverbs says, spare the rod and spoil the child. That's what is happening. We don't have discipline. We sweet talk them. You look at America, it's gone. They started this long time ago. They were the first people to, to lead the way. And then they put the entire thing, don't shout at a child, it's abusive. Don't use a rod, it's abusive. Don't do this, it's abusive. Who is doing this? Who is behind this? Satan. Satan is behind all this, and God is not going to interfere right now. He will later. He says everyone by, oppress everyone by another, and each one by his neighbor. The child will be insolent, insulting. Insolent means insult, and they are today, that's what they are. Disrespectful, you see, towards the elder, mind you. Elder means, I believe, another word, it's written here, aged people or senior people. And the base, and that also is written here, the base is capricious one, that is worthless. Base means worthless, cheap, mean children. They will have no respect for the honorable. Whether you're gray-haired or whether you're walking with a walking stick or whatever, they'll make fun of you. They will even try to, harm you. And that's what's happening. They'll have no respect for the reputable or, there'll be disrespect from the children. So this is for us to keep our eyes open and see what's happening around us. Because Isaiah, like I said in, Matthew 24, they're like two sides of the same coin. And he goes on to say, therefore the curse, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Changed ordinances, you look at the ordinances that has been changed. It's amazing. We've been talking this over and over again. I think it's important. The LGBTQ and, transgenders, now they are participating. If you're a transgender, if you're a man, you can participate in women's events. It's all part of the law. They're changing laws. It's vast. It's vast. I'm just touching a few of them. That's all. Change the ordinance. That's what it is. Today you find people getting married. They were earlier either used to be in a temple or a church or a mosque or whatever. Today you can go on top of a mountain and you can skydive. You can do something. You can ski and then exchange rings. I mean, they're mocking God's ordinances. There's so many things happening. You can, once you understand this, you'll be able to be sensitive at anything that is happening. I think, Press One will understand. I think part of the curriculum in Canada is there's a thing called SOGI, S-O-G-I, which is sexual orientation and gender identification. They want children now to, not to, be, say, marriage is only between a man and a woman. Now, whatever gender, it doesn't matter. You can say he, she, it, I, them, whatever you want. And gender identification. You see, these are things that are happening slowly, but fast. They're bringing it in slow without people even realizing, and there are nobody to stand up against it except the Christians, I believe, and maybe even the Muslims, and maybe some of the Hindus. I mean, basically the Christians will always voice out. Even the Muslims voice out, basically, when it comes to, these kind of issues. But still, even they are also falling prey. Christians, we are totally out, way off. We are just a remnant out there who's talking these things, and people don't want to accept it. So, broken the everlasting covenant, he says. Therefore, the curse 6 has devoured the earth, consumed, ruined the earth. The curse, which is a fact. That's what's happening all over the world today. It's consuming, it's ruining the earth.
It says, therefore had the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few
Okay,
men left.
okay. There's another place where it says those who dwell in it are held guilty. And that is in actually my first Bible, the New American Standard Version, when I started in the beginning. I remember that, and that time I had read this. It's written there, held guilty. And that's what desolate, okay, depopulated, barren, grief, all that is there, which is there. That's also there. But we are also held guilty. This particular generation and the one to come, I don't know whether we are the last or the next one is the last. Is
The NIV says that, brother.
what does it say?
Therefore, it says, therefore, a curse consumes the earth, its people must bear their guilt.
Okay.
Therefore, earth's inhabitations are burnt up, and very few are left.
See, because I know the American Standard, New American Standard version that I had, it says something like this: those who dwell in it are held guilty. But here it says in KJV and NKJV, it's written here or held guilty. Therefore, the inhabitant. Now read 2 Peter 3:10.
But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up.
You see, this is what Isaiah is speaking there, and Peter also. There are other places, but this Peter is quite sound. You see, the day of the Lord. He said the earth are burnt, and few men are left. But Peter says, what looking for? Therefore, since all these things, in 11, if you're there, continue, will be dissolved. You see, persons ought to you to be in holy conduct and godliness, looking for it.
Seeing that all things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought they to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat.
You see, this is going to happen. Let's not, fantasize on anything. It says here, Isaiah, who is so many, centuries ago, I mean, 2 millennium, 2.5 millenniums around ago, he's saying, therefore, the curse of the earth, therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burnt, and few men are left. We are 8 point plus billion people, 8.3 or something like that. You see? And then he goes on to say, understanding the above, he comes down to say, the new wine fails, the wine languishes, languishing again becomes weak. All the merry-hearted sigh. See, today people are into, stadiums. They are all over the place, and even churches and stadiums, and everybody's happy and joyful and festive and all that. That's what merry-hearted people. Their sigh means breathe deeply. They, it becomes heavy. Right now, everybody's enjoying themselves. They're partying, and they have this party. They have all kinds of concerts, and you have recently you got IPL, and everybody's enjoying. People are all glued to TV. They're all very much festive and happy. But he's saying the wine fails, the wine languishes, and I don't believe he's talking about wine as such, because wine makes your heart joyful if you take it that way or this way. But this is what he's saying. He says, the mirth of the tambourine ceases. Mirth means, great merriment, great enjoyment, having all kinds of, whatever you want to call it, festivals and feasts and the works, everything you can include it into this verse. But tambourine, ceases, noise of the jubilant ends, of rejoicing. He's saying ends. the high-spirited people that delight in all this, going for a rock show or pop show or whatever show, suddenly comes to a close. And we have actually tasted this recently. Now, take a guess, okay, as we go down. The joy of the harp ceases. No, see, when he's using words like, tambourine, harp, and all these kind of, instruments, mirth and all that, you cannot say guitar and drums and keyboards and all that. See, in Isaiah's time, this is what he understood. Though he would have seen all this, he would have been wondering what kind of an instruments are these. So he put it down to what he knows. But today we know what he's talking about. He's talking about what kind of instruments you have, whether you have saxophone, you have trumpet, you have trombone, you have whatever, everything. You can have a whole group of, musicians performing. Everything comes to an end, he says. It stops. It ceases. It ends. The music dies, becomes dead. That's what he's saying. But this is, I believe, it's still yet to happen in the real sense. But we have experienced this recently. Rejoicing, high-spirited delight. The joy of the harp ceases. All music bands come to an end. They shall not drink wine with a song, which is, common. You go into a place where there's playing music. Invariably, there's a lot of, wine. And today, wine means it can be whiskey. It's a variety. There are, I think, hundreds of, I don't know, thousands or maybe 10,000. I don't know what. Different varieties of drinks. When I see in Goa here, I am shocked to see. Earlier you say black label, red label, blue label or whatever. They were all common. But today no one talks about that. There are other wines which have come, other, kind of liquors that have moved in, and thousands of them, thousands of names. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink is bitter, unpleasant, he's saying, to those who drink it. The city of confusion is broken down, whichever city you're in. Every house is shut up so that none may go in. There is a cry for wine in the streets. Wine means they're looking for something to be joyful and, they want to have fun. There is a cry for fun in the streets. All joy is darkened, he says, become lifeless. All joy is darkened, depressing, cheerless. That's what he's saying. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city, desolation is left. The gate is stricken with destruction. When it shall be thus in the midst of the land among the people, it shall be like the shaking of an olive tree, like the gleaning of grapes when the vintage is done, the season's given its yield. You remember this part? Anybody remember something of this? If anybody there can take a guess. You see?
What the spices, Bill? What do you think now?
This one, which I'm talking about, from 7, new wine phase, wine languages, tambourine, mirth, everything, noise, everything ends, harp ceases, no music, nothing.
We had this during COVID times,
The Corona time? Corona
Yeah.
time?
COVID time.
Yeah, during that time.
Yeah.
I think that is just a taste, which the more what is coming, it won't be what we saw. I mean, what God is speaking here is going to be far more serious. But we had that. You see, that is what happened. Everything was broken down. Everything was shut up. It says in 10, every house is shut up so that none may go in. You are not supposed to have anything, whether it's a prayer meeting, whether it's a service, or whether it's a fellowship, whether it is Hindu or a Muslim or a Buddhist or anybody. You see, everything was shut down, finished. It's over. You cannot go in, you cannot come out, you cannot travel, you need permission. There was no football, there was no this, there was nothing. For almost how many years? 1.5 years? 2 years? It was in 2020 and 2021, I think they slowly relaxed it. And by 2022, it was catching up again. And now they're still talking, here and there. It's come back with a new variant and all this. But, this is just a taste. We have just tasted this. But serious things to come, because I'm not going to touch on Revelations or anything like that, because there are a lot of things to that. Maybe here and there I will go back. They shall lift up their voice, they shall sing for the majesty of the Lord Yahweh. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Sea means, a group of people, like he says, what do you call a remnant. And I believe, we have to be that remnant. Therefore, glorify Yahweh in the dawning light. The name of Yahweh, God of Israel, in the coastlands of the sea. Coastlands means all over the world. You see, you're down. That's it. Some people, you're some in Canada, some in Dubai, some here, some. We are all over, and this is what we are doing. We glorified the Lord even. Many went ahead and continued to worship God. But he's talking about later than this. Therefore, glorify Yahweh in the dawning light, the name of Yahweh, God of Israel, in the coastlands of the seas. Coastlands of the seas. That's all over the world, all the coastlands. That's what it is. From the ends of the earth, we have heard songs. You see, glory to the righteous. But Isaiah is saying something. He sees all this, and he said, "I'm ruined and ruined. Woe to me," he says. The treacherous, then he goes on to say, because he's seeing something, though this is happening, there's on the other side, something else is also happening all over the world. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Disloyal, untrustworthy, traitors, those kind of people have dealt treacherously. Indeed, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. You see, the intensity of it. Then he goes on to say, this is coming from above. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of the earth. See, this got nothing to do with Israel, by the way. This is all to do with the earth, the world. And it shall be, again he's saying, and it shall be that he who flees from the noise of the fear, he thinks he can run from fear, but he'll fall into a pit, he's saying. And when he comes out from the midst of the pit, he'll be caught in the snare. You see, there's no escape, he's saying. There is no way you can escape and, get away with all this. He said, this is what is going to happen. For the windows from on high are open. If you go to Genesis 7:11, you'll find it there. And the foundations of the earth are shaken. Remember, the foundations of the earth are on 4 pillars and, many things, which is very firm. And he says, now see what is going to happen. Because of all that we went through from verse 24:1 right up to all this that has been going through. He says the earth is violently broken. And we'll come back to the reason why it is. Earth is intensely, violently means forcefully, intensely broken. The earth is split open. The earth is shaken exceedingly. This is not the earthquakes that in various places. This got nothing to do with that. This is the final one that he's talking about. What we hear, earthquake here in Japan and, all these places, in certain places in Kashmir and India, it's all different. That's just the, like what we saw about the COVID. It is just a touch, because Jesus said there'll be earthquakes in various places. But this particular earthquake he also talks about. He says the earth is violently broken. You see? The earth is split open. The earth is shaken exceedingly, tremendously, extremely. Imagine, shaken exceedingly. He's not just saying the earth is shaken. Exceedingly, he's using a word that is intense. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. If you look at a drunkard, a guy who drinks and cannot stand on his feet, from one place to another place he'll go. He'll walk from one part of the road to the other side of the road. You can make out. Anybody can make out that, this guy is drunk out of his head. And he's saying the earth shall reel like that, to and fro like a drunk, and shall totter, shake like a hut. If there's a hut, a hut, I think, normally shakes when there is some wind or I don't know what. But he says it totters like a hut. Then he tells the reason why. Its transgression shall be heavy upon it. It's evil. The violations of laws and moral principles, which are not there, will be heavy, which will be, wickedness. That is why he says in verse 5, see, he's repeating, he's giving a reference to verse 5. The earth is also defiled under its inhabitants, polluted, corrupted, made dirty, horrible, whatever, under its inhabitants, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. They've transgressed laws, and that's coming. I mean, we have done Daniel. Someone can touch Daniel, 7:25. Ye shall speak pompous words against the Most High, vain, and shall persecute. Mine says shall persecute the saints of the Most High. You see? He'll wear out the saints of the Most High, okay. And shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time. But what I actually wanted you to do, he shall intend to change times and law. This is what Isaiah is talking about here. The earth is also defiled on its eye because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant, which has been there for ages. It was going on till this time. So that's why I wanted to touch on that. And probably Daniel 8:23. No. Leave. He talks about fourth beast. We'll come to that on Thursday. So what I'm trying to say is, totally, it says its transgression shall be heavy upon it, and it will fall and not rise again. The kind of transgression that is today on the earth is, you and I probably, don't feel it, but it's happening. People who can see and are spiritually strong will be able to see what is happening there all over the world. If you see this, the earth is violently broken. The earth is, split open, shaken exceedingly, reeled to and fro, like a drunkard, totter like a hart. Go to Revelations. When something like this happens, what do you expect actually? If the earth is going to be shaken like this violently, turn to Revelation 16 and read 17 to 21.
Then the seventh angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. And there were noises and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such a mighty and great earthquake as had not occurred since men were on the earth. Now the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon was remembered before God, to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Then every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And great hail from heaven fell upon men, each hailstone about the weight of a talent. Men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, since that plague was exceedingly great.
You see, if you look at what is happening when you read Isaiah 24, and it says here, the earth is violently broken, the earth is split open. He's going on about the earth is exceedingly, split open. The earth is shaken exceedingly, reeled to and fro, like totter like a hart, transgression. The reason is not because of any other reason, but because of our sin, the wickedness, lawlessness. I mean, see what is happening. The transgression is only increasing. No matter how much we want to pray, no matter if the entire church fasts and prays and stand on our heads and pray for, things to change, I don't believe it's going to change. You rather pray for yourself and ask God not to give you fear over all this, even death. Because as saints, we will go through this. It says here, the seventh angel, when he poured out, it says, great city was divided into the parts. It says Babylon. Every island, 20 fled away. We have seen that, you remember? You remember what happened, during the tsunami? How the sea came in. It was just one earthquake which shook Southeast Asia. The island, it didn't, but it came right in for some kilometers. It is just a small little, like a speck, like I was saying, this is what we have seen in COVID. Same thing was there earlier. Then COVID came, and the bigger part of it is yet to come. Mountains were not found. If the earth is going to shake like this, split open, violently broken, shaken exceedingly, you won't find mountains. Forget about cities. It says the cities, it's the great earthquake had occurred and then on the earth. And, 17, yeah. The cities were not found. Every island fled away. The mountains were not found. Great hail from heaven fell upon men. Each hailstone about the weight of a talent. I believe a weight of a talent is, if I'm not wrong, it's something like 25 kgs. No? Suraj?
60,
Huh?
60 kgs.
1/6.
No, it's actually 58.9 kgs. Almost 60
Oh,
kgs.
that much. Okay, I thought it was about 25, 30. Imagine hailstone. You get small hailstone. How can 60 kgs of hailstone be suspended in the air? How is it possible? You find aircrafts flying through, hailstones and whatever. They have no issues. But having 60, you go and crash into, it's like crashing into a rock. So I believe the firmament above, which is holding, which is like, ice or whatever in Genesis, that's going to crack. That's going to break. And I believe it's going to fall from there. Because he says, you got to understand this, this is the way I look at it. He talks about pit and thing, and he comes in verse 18, it shall be fleece and mountain. And further down, for the windows from on high are open. You see, from there it's open, foundations of the earth, which is earthquakes, will be shaken. The earth will be shaken. So windows from on high are open. And I believe that's what it is. We've been, I don't want to get into that topic at the moment because that's something quite different. But the firmament up there, I believe is, he separated the waters from the waters, and the firmament, he had water there. He's got waters down. You have even ice down. You have, floating ice. You have so many things happening even down. And it says here, great hell, men blasphemed God, insulted him, mocked him, cursed him because of the plague of the hail, since that plague was exceedingly great. So it's not going to kill everyone, but a lot of people will go down. This is something which we have to really take into consideration. If you want, someone can read Zephaniah 1:14 to 17. When the earth is violently broken, it says all this. And here it says,
Isaiah.
yeah, Isaiah. Zephaniah 1:14 to 17.
It is near and he saith greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and the flesh as the dung.
You see, You know, the day he's talking in that day of is a day of wrath, trouble, distress, devastation. It's all connected. They're all connected. Isaiah, Zephaniah, Joel. There's many more. You know, you got even what Jesus is talking about. You go to Matthew 24, which is very commonly understood or known. They're all connected. Revelation, we just saw. When this earthquake, see, you don't find this description written in other places, but you find the effects of this, earthquake in other places. Like Zephaniah is saying, this is what is going to come upon the earth. Trouble, distress, devastation, desolation, darkness, gloominess, clouds and thick darkness, and the day of trumpet and alarm against the fortified cities, against the high towers of great altitude. You look at the towers today even in Dubai or Paris, or you take in New York, you take all these places. They've been building towers for ages, but all those towers, everything, even a lamppost will be shaken. If hut is being tottered, shaken, then I don't see what will remain actually when that earthquake happens. A day of trumpet and alarm. He says, I will bring distress upon men. They shall walk like blind men because they have sinned against the Lord. Yeah, if you look at sin, it will be like this, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Only thing here, Zephaniah is saying they've sinned against the Lord. You see? That's basically what even Isaiah is saying, transgressed against the laws. Their blood shall be poured out like dust, mind you. It'll flow like dust, he's saying. I don't, it's it's amazing. And he says their flesh like refuse. You know what refuse means? People use this word very commonly in movies and all kinds of texts and all. They use the word S. That's basically what he's talking. Nobody will be able to bury anybody because there'll be too many bodies all over the place, all over the world. And he's saying that's what it's going to be. So keeping, I did this not to scare any of you, but at least we can start praying and ask God to give us the grace we need, to be taken out or to escape all these things that are coming upon this earth, upon this world. Because this part God is going to do. This is his work. He's going to bring about all these kind of things. That's what he says. The day of that day is the day. He says, actually starts in 14. The great day of the Lord, Yahweh, is near. I'm talking from Zephaniah 14. He says it's near. It's not going to be millions and millions of years, and from billions of years, and these people are talking all these millions of years. Doesn't make any sense. It's going to be just a few, probably a few years from now, but it has been a few thousands ago past. So keeping all this in mind, let us, seek God diligently. Let us ask God to give us that grace, that power, that power and that grace that comes from him with the authority. We are weak, I'm sure. All of us, we have our weaknesses because we are fighting against a monster. We are fighting against a beast, which will soon make his appearance. That's what we will see in Thursday, what Daniel is talking about in chapter 8. But this is what it is. This is what we are going through. The Lord is making the earth empty on the other side. And they're going on. They're all confused about, climate change. Climate change. We must do this. We must do that. We need to establish some laws. It's not going to work. 100% I know it is not going to work. If the Lord has spoken his word, that's it. It's sealed. No matter, let it be any president of America or Israel or, China or Russia, or all these big time people, it will not work. He's made it very clear. He's going to make it waste, barren, drained, useless, unproductive, distorts, because it says, behold the Lord. Here it says the Lord. So remember that. Distorts its surface. He's going to disfigure it, put it out of shape, he says, and scatters abroad its inhabitants. You see, all this is simultaneously working. Like I said, migrant workers today everywhere. They all have a problem. America's got a big problem. Trump wants to send them all back to Mexico and wherever they came from. It's not going to work. It won't work. He may be there for a few years. He may do a little of it, but then somebody else will come and open the borders again and say, "Please come in." So this is all part of God's, thing. He said, "This is what it is. I will bring them instead, and this is what is going to happen." And then it shall be as with the people. I just want you to understand. Read this chapter 24, verse 1 to 3. And meditate on it. Actually, read the whole thing. It says, "As with the priest, so with the people, or as with the people, so with the priest. Servant, master, maid, mistress, buyer, seller, lender, borrower." It's there. It's right before our eyes. Creditor, debtor. And then he goes on to say, "The land shall be entirely emptied, looted, or plundered, or stripped off, whatever, and utterly plundered, looted, emptied and looted, totally." And he goes on to say, this is what you got to understand. For Yahweh has spoken this word. See, this is what is allowed. Everything is happening. We can see all these things happening in you got children who are changing their genders. Imagine, and the law has allowed it. A parent doesn't have a right to tell a child who's even 5 years old, when he goes and tells his school teacher, I want to be a girl. I don't like to be a boy. The teacher supports the child and makes sure a procedure is done to the child, even without the knowledge of the parents knowing this. Because I'm watching, because I've been seeing all this. I've been seeing these things happening for the past, 10 years, 10, 15 years, but it's gaining momentum. And there are others who are there. Where in the law, in the past, did a man change a gender and go and, compete with a woman? Just because he says, "No, my name is not Thomas, my name is Susie." Does it mean it's okay? "No, my name is not Samson. My name is, whatever." He gives it a female name. Brenda. And you have to call that person she. If you don't call, you can be sued. You got to understand. And this is, it's happening all over. It's also in India, by the way. Because I've seen this, in Delhi, in some of the, mega cities of India, where they have this Pride Parade. We are going through this month. It's called Pride Month. Are you aware of this? You people are aware of this? It's called Pride Month. I think if Patrick is there, he'll know what is happening there. It's called a Pride Month. You have a day. You say, "Today's my birthday, my wedding anniversary." But having a Pride Month, they have Father's Day, Mother's Day, all the days are there. But the whole thing now has become it's totally different. Pride Month. Why should they have a month, where they celebrate? And see, though they are not even, I think they're less than 1%, but they've got such amazing power. From where do they get this power if it's not from Satan?
Psalms 11:3. If the foundations be destroyed,
Yeah.
what can the righteous do?
Yeah. If the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? You see? That's what he's saying here. When we come to Daniel, you'll find, because, the saints are given into his hand. The treacherous are dealing treachery. So many things are happening. The only thing here, he says, they lift up their voice, the sing song. But there is a remnant. There will always be a remnant. But the foundations are broken. And the remnant will not be able to do anything other than continue to glorify God in the dawning light. You see? That's basically what we're going through. The foundation. That's why he says, they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance. That's the foundation, broken the everlasting covenant. The foundations of God. See, God has given us laws. God has given us laws, and we must understand one thing. Don't discard it and say, "Oh, we don't need law. We are saved by grace." Definitely we are saved by, but we need to understand, what does God mean when he says, "I've given you laws"? It's just a collection of rules that governs our character or directs us. Even bringing us to grace, it points us to Christ. So laws are not something, this is why we become lawless. Jesus himself said, lawlessness will abound. You see? That means there was a law, and then they've given up the law, and so people have become lawless. And here we are preaching, a lot of people around the world preaching that, no, we don't need the law. We are not interested. It's not the law. But if there is no law, this is what is happening. And I think the church is responsible for this as well, bringing this entire world, especially from the West, to this state, where they said, okay, there's a law. If a man kills another man or kills 2 men or 3 men, today in the US and a few other places, there is no death penalty. He just gets away. He's in prison and he's treated bad. I mean, what justice is that? Some people may not accept it, but I think they're wrong. I believe they're wrong. Not think. I believe they're wrong. But there is a law that has to be applied. A man steals, you don't take him and put him in prison and then send him out after another 2 days. He goes and steals again. There has to be a law that is, that will direct a rule that will correct him. Or it should be a deterrent. That's it. It should not, continue. This is what it is. We are coming to the state, and we are getting deeper, by the way. Isaiah is, whatever is spoken, it's there. We can see it all happening. I mean, you don't find it like this written elsewhere in other places. The earth moans and fades away. Where do you see this? The land shall be entirely emptied, utterly plundered. And the Lord has spoken, He's warned us. In other words, He's warned us, at least us who are listening today. He's warned us. The world languishes and is fades away. Even the haughty people, the proud, the arrogant, the intelligent, the smart, or whatever you want to call them, whether they are, they're computer savvy, they're computer this and that, it doesn't matter. They will also be caught in the snare. They think they may be earning massive amounts, So some people say they earn 10 lakhs a month and, 20 lakhs a month and all. What deal is that? And they make themselves, so great. And then you come down the ladder also, to the first bar. Even there you find people are haughty. You don't have to go right on top, somewhere on top. Even the poor has become haughty, proud, arrogant. Children, look at them, the way they speak. It's common. And it's so perfect, in what is written in Isaiah 24. And I believe Jesus touches in what he was talking in Matthew 24 also, from the book of Isaiah. When coming down to this, shall fall and not rise again, 21, says, it shall come to pass in that day. Now this is the beautiful part of it, that the Lord Yahweh will punish on high the host of the exalted ones, and on the earth the kings of the earth. That means the rulers and whoever. They will be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit, in a dungeon or whatever. He says, and will be shut up in the prison. After many days, they will be punished. Judgment. Then the moon will be disgraced. This is what the center point is. The moon will be disgraced, the sun ashamed, for Yahweh of hosts will reign on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem before his elders, gloriously, before his people, elders, leaders, everybody. The Lord will return. That's what he means. He will return, he'll come to Zion, go to Jerusalem, and he'll rule from there. If you can, there are many, prophets who speaks the moon and the sun. Look at Zechariah 8, 2 and 3. Somebody can read Zechariah 2 and 3.
Thus says the Lord of hosts.
Yeah.
I was jealous of Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous of her with great fury. Thus says the Lord, I am returned to Zion, and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, and the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain.
See, this is what will come to pass. I mean, it's very, very, very clear what he's talking. I'm zealous for Zion with great zeal. Great favor I am zealous. I will return to Zion. Christ has left. He left through the eastern gate. He'll return back through the eastern gate and dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth. Right now, it's in a mess, big mess. The mountain of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the holy mountain. You see? This is basically what it is.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
You see, this is what it is. He's speaking, he says, Isaiah says, the moon will be disgraced, sun ashamed. There, Jesus saying immediately after the tribulation, those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. What they're talking is the same thing. The stars will fall from heaven and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. That is what he says in the windows from on high are open and the foundation of the earth are shaken. You see, everything is, they're all related. It's all there. It's not just in one place. It's in so many places. Even in Mark, I think it's there. And if you go down to, I think Joel talks about it. Isaiah he spoke there. Even if you look at Isaiah 13, I think Isaiah 13, I think he talks something very similar in 24. Someone, if you're there, you can read Isaiah 13.
Therefore, I
Yeah?
will shake the heavens, and
Yeah.
the earth shall remove
Mm.
out of her place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger.
Anger. Yeah. Okay. You see, therefore, it says, earlier it says in 9, it says, behold, the day of the Lord comes. Yeah. Cruel. Like what Zephaniah is talking about, he talks a lot of things here also. And then he comes down to thing in 11, he says, I will punish the world for its evil, the wicked for the iniquity. I will halt the arrogance of the proud, the haughty people and all that. I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make the mortal more rare than fine gold. Few men are left, a man more than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore, I will shake the heavens. The earth will move out of her place. I mean, they say if the earth moves by 0.1 degree, 2 degrees, it's going to be like this and that. You get this NASA and all these people talking about. That's fine. That's okay with them. But here the Lord is going to do something different. When he's going to move it out of a place means it's a movement, like what we saw in Isaiah. In the wrath of the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. One day, you see. Because man's transgression, you look at it today. I don't believe this has ever happened during the time of Noah. I don't believe it happened in the time of Sodom, Gomorrah, Sidon, Tyre, in the past, even Manasseh, and you take all of them, you take all their, problems, you take everything, all the wickedness that they've done and weigh it in the balance and put this, what is happening today. I believe this is far, far more heavier. The weight of this is too much. The thing we have each day we go morning, night we sleep, we get up morning. We don't really have any issues. Here and there we read news, we see certain things, we are disturbed, but they are all catching up. They are all increasing slowly. And laws are being passed, all over the world. That's what is happening. If you see the day of the Lord, he says, behold the day of the Lord in 13:9, and that's where he comes, the earth will move. You'll find that in Amos, Obadiah, Joel, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Matthew, Revelation. Imagine all these books say the same thing, day of the Lord, Yahweh, the day of Yahweh. Read Amos, take Amos 5:18. Somebody can read Obadiah 9:15, Joel 2:1 and 2. We touched Zephaniah. So one by one, someone can read this quickly.
Amos chapter
5:18. 5:18. It's to do with the day of the Lord, which
Who
we're seeing in
unto
13. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
unto you that desire the day of the Lord, to
Mm,
what end is it for you? The day of the
mm.
Lord is darkness and not light.
You see, never will you find the day of the Lord to do with something to do with light and goodness. And read anybody with Joel 2:1 and 2? Someone take Zephaniah. Zephaniah we did. Zechariah 4:1. Haggai 2:21, 23. Obadiah 9:15.
Behold, the day of the Lord is coming, and your
Yeah.
spoil will be divided in your midst.
Yeah, you see, the day of the Lord is coming. It's to do with the unspoiled. Everything is going to.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and
Mm,
sounds an alarm in my holy mountains. Let
mm,
all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of
mm.
the Lord cometh, for it is night at hand. A day of
Yeah.
darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the
Mm,
morning spread upon the mountains, a great
mm,
people and a strong.
mm,
There hath
mm,
not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even
mm,
to the years of many generations.
mm. You see, the day of the Lord is darkness and gloominess. And Zephaniah says that, it's all there. Even Matthew 24:36. If you're still there, anybody there? 24:36.
But of the day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
He's talking about the day and the hour. Nobody knows. He's talking about the same kind of a day. You see? So let's continue to really seek the Lord diligently, because we are going to get into a lot of. It's going to move fast. You can feel the days moving extremely fast. Days, weeks, months, years. You see, we are catching up with what God has been talking about. There will be a time, like you see what is happening today, what Trump is trying to do. There's going to be an exodus.
Okay.
Things are going to be out of control. And
Okay.
good you touched this, because I've underlined it. It shall be as the hunted gazelle, as the sheep that no man takes up. Every man will turn to his own people. They'll go back. They will return. Many of them will want to return.
They
Like
come
how
back to their
even,
own country, is
yeah,
it?
yeah, they'll go
Uh,
back to their own countries, because they will have a very difficult time. A lot of things are going to happen, because things are going to get so much out of control. There'll be economic problem. There'll be all kinds of, we think today it's economic boom, but it's an economic collapse. You see, and the people of the land, whether it's Europe or wherever, they'll want all the migrants to go back, return to your land. There's going to be a lot of chaos, I believe. Yeah, everyone will flee to his own land. You see?
It has started already.
Yeah. That's what it is. And everybody who stays back will be thrust through. You see, there are people, they don't understand the seriousness. Actually, when we touch Daniel 8, you will see this part. You will see what
Exactly.
that fourth beast is not an animal, because Daniel does not, he could not describe it. It's just iron teeth and bronze claws and all that he talks about. But it's not a lion, leopard, and a bear. So he was very disturbed about the fourth one. And the fourth one is more metallic, I think. It's to do with all this, what we are today. Everything is, it's very intricate. It's very, very, what do you call, complex. You see, people are, into credit cards, student loans, interest payments, mortgages. They're only increasing and giving more trouble for people. It's not making life any better. Whether you have anything, all the gadgets in your home, still life is not, we've been seeing this in the WhatsApp. People are saying, we have fridge, we have car, we have this, but life is so, hectic. It has not made anything easy for any of us. But those days, before we had all this, Life was so beautiful, so nice. Let's say 50 years ago, just 50 years. I'm taking as a benchmark 50 years. Why are people deeper in debt? Why we see the economy booming and people are still, committing suicide and, in distress and, family breakups and so many things happening. People, you see this generation, especially the youngsters, they make more withdrawals than deposits. They want more money, but their deposit is less. Everybody's going to the ATM and pulling out. How much are they putting in? So they give you a credit card, and they know how to, to ensnare you, to trap you, and then you're in their hand. That's what Isaiah was talking about when he says, as with the debtor, as with the buyer, so it's as with the lender, so with the borrower. In verse 2, as with the creditor, so with the debtor. This is what is happening. The one who wants to borrow, he goes for it. He goes for the credit, and then he's caught, he's ensnared. And you look at the companies today, everybody's hopping around. Everybody's changing jobs. By the time they finish 5 years or 10 years, they've probably moved into 3 to 4, 5 companies. And the companies today are very smart. They give you low wages, though it sounds very high. They make higher profits with low-grade products. Today, you buy, I've got a washing machine here, which is called, it's an Indian brand. But that has been there for almost 20, 25 years. It was my sister's. Long time ago, they bought it. But today, you can't. My brother-in-law bought a television 2 years ago. And he had a problem. He had to pay 7,000 rupees 3 days ago to repair it. You see, that's what is happening. Higher profits. The products are there. Low-grade products. You find, you go even in Dubai. I remember I used to be shocked when things used to be, you go to the day-to-day center. You can buy things for 2 dirhams, 3 dirhams, 5 dirhams. There was a time when they came with everything 1 dirham. I mean, where I used to wonder from where did they get, how did they produce such items? And this is what got me thinking. I mean, later on, it got me very intense into Isaiah 24, and I realized this is what is happening, and even Daniel, what is going on. See, money today is like, it's like a pharmacy. You go buying some medicine and, it's like that. Poverty is like that. You go and, you got money, even a slum person, you go into his house, he'll have a fridge, he's got electricity, he's got probably some water coming, whatever. But he's living a very good life. He's living actually a rich life, which once used to be a poor life. And the reason money, like medicine, has destroyed the sickness of poverty. But what we are seeing is the side effects of it, which is not right. That's why you don't have people who can come and work in your place or climb up a coconut tree or sweep the yard or whatever. I mean, in different, there was a hierarchy in the workforce. But today it's not so. Children are all studying. They don't want to do what their parents are doing. My neighbor, just behind me, father is, he's got a pickup and he delivers fruits and vegetables and all that. His wife goes and, goes to houses, to clean and sweep and mop and all those kind of things. But their 2 children are vigorously studying. They will take them for some tuitions and, all those things are happening. You mean to say that those children will grow up and be like the parents? No way. No chance. No way. Not only here, all over the world. You see, you go to America, you want somebody to come and do the same job. She'll walk. She or he will come in a car. He'll park the car and he'll come and he's got all the gadgets. He needs all the gadgets. He'll do his job. He'll charge you and he'll go. If you don't have the money, that's it. You do it yourself. Oh, this is why we need meditation. We need to really meditate on what God has been talking about. And especially in these end times, we know salvation, we know eternity, we know, we know all these kind of things. But the important thing is, to understand what God is talking, not only from, the point of eternal life, that we understand. That we say the word of God is, is so beautiful, so wonderful. But how does it apply in our life? See, am I living it? I'm sure all of us are going through difficult times. But we have to strive, we have to persevere, we have to endure. Let someone close in prayer. Praise God. God bless us with this word in His Son Yeshua. Amen.